Welcome to the story of Mohammad by Rudyard Kipling, Part 3. Today we're going to know what happened to the polo ball and later on what happened to Mohammad. This is a touching story of this little man of art and architecture who was all alone, crooning to himself. The story starts with fear, anger, connects with sensitivities, goes to compassion, ends on the note of love. Let's begin the reading. Daily, on my return from office, the little white shirt and the fat little body used to rise from the shade of the creeper-covered trellis where they had been hidden. And daily I checked my horse here, that my salutation might not be slurred over or given unseemly. Trellis is a wooden shade, creeper is a plant, horse is the little boy, slur is a greeting that would not be ignored. Mohammad never had any companions. He used to trot about in the compound, in and out of the castor oil bushes, on about the compound, mysterious errands of his own. One day I stumbled upon his handiwork far down the grounds. He had half buried the polo ball in dust and stuck 6 shriveled old marigolds in a circle round it. Outside the circle again was a rude square, traced out in bits and red brick alternating with fragments of broken china, the whole bounded by a little bank of dust. The waterman from the well curb put in a plea for the small architect, saying that it was only the play of a baby and did not much disfigure my garden. Heaven knows that I had no intention of touching the child's work then or later. But that evening, a stroll through the garden brought me unaware full on it, so that I trampled, before I knew, marigold heads, dust bank, and fragments of broken soap dish into a confusion past all hope of mending. Next morning, I came upon Mohammad crying softly to himself over the ruin I had wrought. Someone had cruelly told him that Sahib was very angry with him for spoiling his garden and had scattered his rubbish using bad language the while. Mohammad labored for an hour at effacing every trace of the dust of bank and pottery fragments, and it was with a tearful and apologetic face that he said, "Talam Tahib," when I came home after office. A hasty inquiry resulted in Imam Deen informing me to dispose himself as he pleased, whereat the child took heart and fell to tracing the ground plan of an edifice which was to eclipse the marigold polo ball creation. For some months the chubby little eccentricity revolved his humble orbit among the castor oil bushes and in the dust, always fashioning magnificent palaces from stale flowers thrown away by the bearer, smooth water-worn pebbles, bits of broken glass and feathers pulled, I fancy, from my fowls. always alone, always groaning to himself. A gaily spotted seashell was dropped one day close to the last of his little buildings, and I looked that Mohammedan should Mohammedan should build something more than ordinarily splendid on the strength of it. Nor was I disappointed. He meditated for the better part of an hour, and his crooning rose to a jubilant song. Then he began in the dust. It would certainly be a wondrous palace, this one, for it was 2 yards long and a yard broad in the ground plan. But the palace was never completed. Next day, there was no Mohammedan at the head of the carriage drive, and no Talam Taib to welcome my return. I had grown accustomed to the greeting, and its omission troubled me. Next day, Imam Din told me that the child was suffering slightly from fever and needed quinine. He got the medicine from an English doctor. They have no stamina, these brats, said the doctor as he left Imam Din's quarters. A week later, though I would have given much to have avoided this, I met on the road to the Mussalman bearing ground Imam Din, accompanied by one other friend, carrying in his arm, wrapped in a white cloth, all that was left of Mohammed Din. A flower fell, dropped, bloomed, and withered, and in between the blooming and withering was pure joy.